Welcome to step 4. We are down to the home stretch now with your mini course. And in case you forgot what mini course this is the Phenomenal Boss Business Launch Blueprint mini course. And so, of course, my goal is, and hopefully your goal is to be able to launch your business at the end of this mini course, or at least to be able to define what your next step is to get you closer to launching your business. So we're at step 4 now, which is your business launch strategy, or how you plan to launch your business. But before we hop into the content, I want to take you through what you've learned so far. So in step 1, you define what you're passionate about, what your interests are, what people come to you, what problems people are coming to you to solve. You define what your experiences are and what you've overcome that you can actually help someone else get a transformation. Then in step 2, we took all of those um, things that you brainstormed about, all of those skills, all of the passion, all of the interest, all of the experience, and all of the problems you've been solving over the years, both in your professional life and in your personal life. And now in step 2, you took that information and you defined what problems you've been solving for people over the years, and what problems you have solved and what problems you have the potential to solve. So that is what you did in step 2 by defining your business ideas. And then you came up with a different, the business concept in terms of how you plan to solve the problem for people, and in what kind of format. Will you be a coach? Will you provide a service to people? Are you launching a course? Are you going to sell like an e-commerce product, online? And then in step 3, which was probably the longest video you'll have, is, I laid out for you, everything that you need to include in a business plan. You want to have a business plan that defines how you're going to operate your business. And it also is, business plans are tools for you to get funding. It's a tool for you also to, have a compass so you can kind of know what to expect, whether it's challenges or, trends. It helps you define all of those things. So that is what we've covered it so far. And so now let's talk about, now that you've done all of those things and it's time to launch your business, how do you get those eyes on your product or service? So first off, I recommend splitting your launch into 2 phases. And so within these 2 phases, you're going to approach your launch in a couple of different ways. So in phase 1, and I call this like your pre-launch checklist, and these are all the things you want to have in place when it's time to launch your business. And so you want to have your visual brand characteristics in place. And these are things like your logo, your website, your domain name. I would also add to this list your taglines, or, and things don't have to be all perfect, at this point. Start with a logo, website, because your website is going to be how people are going to find you. They're going to learn more about your product or service. They're going to learn about what services you offer, but they're also going to have, a way to actually pay for what you're selling, right? Or to request the service that you're selling. So that's the purpose of a website. And I think every business owner should have them, even though you may come across some people who say you don't need a website. Whether you choose to collect payments or introduce your service in the form of a website or some other format, you do need to have a way to collect payments, tell people what you provide, and for them to request or pay for the service. And you need your logo and your domain name. Now, there's a whole long list of things you need for your visual brand, such as colors and things you want to consider, fonts. You want to really refine your brand. And the main thing, another thing that you want to think about in terms of your brand is your brand identity. And your brand identity is who you are and what are your values as a business. So you want to have those things in place because that all goes to your messaging. And it's kind of hard to launch a business or start a business if you don't know what your message is and you don't know what who you are as a business owner. And even if you're a coach or a consultant, you need to know who you are and what you represent and what your values are, who you serve, your philosophy. Like my philosophy as a business coach may be different from another business coach. My philosophy is you have to start a business based on passion and foundation. That is my value system, and that is what I teach on. And so that is maybe different than someone else who may be teaching you to just launch a business based on profit. Find out what's profitable, and that's what you launch your business on. And that's just not my philosophy because I don't find that people have been successful doing that because as soon as they lose passion quickly, they don't get the authority that they would get if they actually launched a business based on their skills. And that is, the reason you want to be able to launch a business based on what you're passionate about. Because people will, it's a skill. You're launching based on a skill, something you've actually done, or an achievement something you've actually accomplished. That brings more credibility than someone who's just launching a business because something was profitable and they have no connection to the product. So you want to be able, your identity is your story. Your identity is what your values are and the fact that you have a connection to what you're selling. Because when you have a connection to what you're selling, you're more credible and people can buy into that. They can connect with you. They can resonate with your message. And so you want to make sure you have those things dialed in so that you have a message, you have your story laid out and you know what your product or service is, that you're delivering to people in terms of, the value system and then you also want to, just want to make sure I didn't skip a slide, have your sales funnel kind of laid out. And your sales funnel is basically the process that you'll take people through from the time they learn of your business to the time of the sale. And so, you need to think from start to finish what's happening in that customer journey. So, or how are they finding you? And then when they find you, how do they get access to what you or knowledge of what you're selling? And then, this is also the time when you want to enter the upsell too before they make that before they get to that final checkout phase. So sales funnels can be automated. They can, be, just your process, but you need to know how that's going to flow before you actually launch. And then you need to have your service delivery method dialed in. Do you need a third party service to actually deliver your service? Or, is it something you are going to deliver via Zoom or like how are you going to get your service, your product or service to people? And that needs to be dialed in. You don't want to launch and not have these things. Then you want to know how you're going to collect payment. You're not in business to deliver free services, right? So you want to know, how will people pay you? Will you use PayPal? Will you use Stripe? Will you use Square or some other service, depending on, the type of business you're launching. If you're launching a brick and mortar business, then you may collect payments differently than if you're launching, let's say, an e-commerce store that may use, Stripe or some other, or PayPal. So, or a coach who may invoice through PayPal and, which is free to use, but you pay, a percentage when payments come into you. Then you want to, know what is, you know your messaging, you want to have your offers laid out. You want to, know what you're selling and have a description for that in detail so that people, not just detail, but also that it's very descriptive in a sense that people know exactly what they're getting by doing business with you. You want to make sure that's all laid out. And you want to have your social media accounts in place so that you're adding just another way for people to get connected to your business. You're adding another way for people to learn about who you are. and you want to have your marketing strategy in place. So basically, how do you plan to get the eyes on your customers? Will you be cold calling, after your launch? Will try and work with an influencer? Will you run Google ads? Will you run, some other paid advertising using a digital marketing agency? What is your strategy for really getting, your product out there in front of the potential customers and clients that you want to serve? And then you want to set a date. What is the point of going through this mini course, working through this, your Phenomenal Boss business launch blueprint workbook, and doing all of this work if you don't set a date? Because things don't become real until you make them happen, you take action. And you do that by giving yourself a date to do this. So depending on where you're watching this, my deal is, will it take 30 days? Will it take 90 days? Well, it depends on what type of business you're launching, because you want to give yourself the time to really thoughtfully think out, your business planning, what you're passionate about. Yes, these are 5 videos, but even beyond this mini course, you want to really and truly take some time and really reflect on everything that you've learned and everything that you've, laid out in your workbook. You want to think thoughtfully about how, when you're going to be ready to launch, and you want to work diligently to make sure it happens. I don't want to waste your time. I don't want you to waste my time. I want to see you launch your business. So you want to make sure you set that date, you take this information you learn, and you actually set a date to actually get launched. And then you want to think, what is your revenue goal? One of the things that I always suggest when I work with business owners when they're launching a new business is to launch like a beta, kind of the beta version first. So, your beta version is kind of an opportunity, especially when you're launching something new, for you to launch it, get your first initial customers, and then to actually get your testimonials, get your initial feedback, so then you can then go and make your service better. And then the next round, you want to be able to, do all your tweaks, and then you charge a higher price because now you've taken the time, you put it out there, you tested it, you saw that there's an interest in your product or service, and now it's time to, kind of launch at a higher level. So with all of that for phase 1, now you want to hop into phase 2. And so, let's talk about what goes into phase 2. So in phase 2, it's all about your launch strategy. How will you promote your business? And I want to give you some examples of different things you can do to engage your potential clients and customers over the course of 3 to 4 weeks prior to your launch date. Because you want to, obviously, with social media and other platforms, you want to be able to engage people on an ongoing basis. But when you look at that 3 to 4 week window, it's time for you to constantly kind of be in, to be in the mindset of people so that they know that you have something coming. And so when you do launch, they're ready to actually buy. So, you want to kind of think of things in terms of dates. You want to send an email, possibly. And again, I'm giving you examples, but you want to come up with your own marketing strategy for your business. So in terms of email, you want to have the email actually drafted and ready. And you don't just want to send one email, you want to send an email series so that people, maybe you're doing this at the beginning of the 3 to 4 week kind of mark where you're kind of laying the framework for people to be able to start getting, getting to know you as the business owner, as opposed to, like how they've known you in the past. So the email is really for you to warm up anyone that you, let's say, any friends and family, your coworkers, your neighbors, anyone within your network. It's a chance, if you have a marketing list, people that you've marketed to in the past, well, this is your chance, those warm relationships, this is your chance to, you know, get your business, get them talking and thinking about your business or the product or service you plan to launch. So email is, one way. And like I said, you want an email series, and then you want to have a social media strategy. So maybe you're going to do lives, and if you're going to do lives, maybe you're going to do 2 to 3 lives a week. You're going to have posts in between. Maybe you'll post 2 to 3 times a day during this launch period. You're going to really light up your stories, and you're going to have your stories on, you know, on, on and popping, I guess I want to say. You want to make sure that you're consistently doing all these things so that your product or service is actually resonating with people. People know that this great grand thing is coming. And anyone that you on your social media friend list or followers that are already people you have relationships with, you want to start to create just a simple DM message to start reaching out to them. Then you want to think also about, like, will you use influencer marketing? And so influencer marketing is when you find an industry that's not a competitor, but someone who is aligned with your industry. So let's say if you're a health coach and you are doing health coaching in the sense of maybe a course, or maybe you're planning on doing a group coaching program, then you want to find someone. Let's say if you're coaching along the lines of diabetes, maybe you want to find someone who's coaching alongside of like fitness. You don't cover exercise and fitness, and maybe you do, maybe you don't, but you want to find something that you don't cover, but that you're but something that you don't provide within your coaching program, but there's another entity or a person out there with a large enough following and an engaged following that can get your service to their followers. So that's what you're looking for. And I hope that makes sense. Let me repeat that again. An influencer is, in terms of influencer marketing, is you're looking for someone who has, they have the audience. And that's why it's so important to know who your audience is, who best benefits from your product or service, because you want to find an influencer that already has your audience, and they're not your competitor, but they already have your audience, and their audience can actually benefit from your product or service. And so those are the people you're looking for in terms of influencer marketing. And so essentially the way it works is you pay them to get in front of their audience, whether it's like a post that they'll make on your behalf or a story that they'll share. But you want to make sure, they have, a significant or a large enough audience that it can be, worth your money and that you'll get an actual return on your investment. And so you want to decide if you want to use this type of marketing. You of course would probably design the ad, or if it's something that's like a physical product, you would send it to the influencer for them to market for you. So whatever your strategy is that you work out with the influencer, it is a paid form of advertising that you can do, but you may want to not do this initially, but have it in the kind of the back pocket. Maybe you want to have a consultant help you kind of come up with the best way to use influencer marketing, but it is a very effective way to get in front of your audience, or the people that are your potential audience, and also to build a very powerful connection as well. And there's also there's software programs and different websites that can help you find the influencers, so you don't have to look for them, like, scroll social media looking for them. So there are websites that can help you do that. So then you want to think about any promotions you want to offer, maybe like preliminary pricing that goes up, after so many hours, bundling, bonuses, product samples. So think about, what is it that you're offering, initially, and you're thinking about during this whole launch period, how you're going to actually get your product out there and in what form, initially and ongoing. And we talked about, the posts, but, with Instagram and Facebook or any social media platform, you always want to have a call to action. So with all of your posts, you need to be strategic in how you post. So your post, you want to make sure that you are educating people and providing value so that they want to learn more about what you have to offer. So with your Instagram posts, I like to look at my content as, when I look over the course of 5 days, I'm going to possibly give value one day. I'm going to maybe share a tip another day, or maybe a longer form video. So think about what your over the course of the 3 to 4 weeks, you need to show up consistently, and how you're going to show up, and with what kind of content you're going to show up. And you want to think, are you going to do webinars? Webinars are, they're challenging to do. And they also have a cost associated with them. And so if you're going to do a webinar, you need to have your presentation like really dialed in to hold people's attention, so that they stay to the very end to actually hear, what you have to offer. And so webinars are great. They're a wonderful tool to use, but they're also, it's not a magic pill, to really get your initial sales. And these are just examples I'm giving you of different marketing strategies. You want to come up with your own marketing strategies that are going to work for your business, but I want to just share with you all of the different options you have. And you'll kind of look at your budget, you'll look at what you're capable of putting together, and you'll come up with your own marketing strategy. And so a live webinar means just that, you're live. There's also the recorded webinars, but live ones, work the best. And then there's a whole strategy behind that as well, which, in this short mini course, it's not enough time to really get into it, but I just want to share with you that live webinars are another way. So Pinterest. So Pinterest is really a search engine. A lot of people think of it as a social media platform, but it's a search engine. It's where people come to search for ideas. They come to search, for ideas around recipes, health, business. They come to search for around so many things. And it's also a powerful platform that people can purchase directly from Pinterest. So you want to think, is Pinterest an option for you to leverage your business? And a lot of that depends on what you're selling. So, but Pinterest is a very powerful platform for you to use to get eyes, and traffic to your website. Then you want to think about, are you going to have blog posts? Blog posts aren't necessarily great for getting people to your website immediately. It's more so for SEO purposes, and it needs to be viewed as a long-term strategy, just like SEO is a long-term strategy. So are blog posts. So you want to make sure that, you know whether or not you want to include blog posts as a way to kind of, introduce yourself. And you can always, once you have your blog posts going, you can always use platforms like Pinterest, social media, like Facebook and Instagram, to actually let people know, I have this great blog post, and to get eyes on your post, therefore getting eyes on your offer as well. And then we talked about paid ads already. We talked about organic actually, but there's paid advertising. Like I said, I recommend, once you are in a position that you actually understand paid ads, you have your target audience dialed in, then and you find an agency, or you learn more about running paid ads, then you can use tools like Facebook, Instagram, influencer marketing that I spoke about earlier, and YouTube, as well as Google ads. So you do have to have a Google account to advertise on YouTube, because Google owns YouTube, but YouTube is another powerful platform to get in front of your ideal customer, regardless of what you're actually selling. So you want to define your launch strategy and you want to use your business launch guide to really kind of lay out how you plan to, what your launch is going to look like. These are just ideas and examples, and you want to really narrow down what it is you feel you can do financially, time-wise, to get your business launched. Do you want to hire a VA to help you? If you can afford that, to get your business up and going, to help you do the little things while you're working all day so that you can have a successful business launch. So I want you to think of things like that. And don't think of everything as more of obstacles, but think of it as the things that you need to get nailed down and dialed in so that you can have a successful business launch. And you choose the marketing ideas that work for you. So that completes step 4, which is your launch strategy. And so be sure to go through your Phenomenal Boss business launch blueprint guide to make sure you answer the questions relevant to step 4, and make sure you've answered all of the questions as we've been working our way through the mini course. So with that being said, I will see you in step 5, which is your final step in the mini course. But it's the most critical step because it really kind of lays out how you're going to scale and how you're going to move from solopreneur to CEO. See you in the next video.